Can you hear the music? You can hear it. That's awesome. A lot of people can hear it. For some reason, I don't know
It's
why.
probably because I'm on my computer.
Yeah. This song gets me right fired up. Get into it. This part. All right, welcome back to another episode of On the Throne with Dick, and shout out to Senjin Boychuk for that intro outro music. Find him everywhere on the socials. He's just doing his own thing, not really a following, but doesn't really care. He just shredding guitar and doing his own thing. And this week on the podcast, I'm really excited. We got Hunter at aka Some Welding Girl, the host of the 4% podcast. How's it going?
Hi. Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm just hanging out here. We're, 1 week down of 6 weeks off work, just healing up over here, busted ankle and a super rare injury with a dislocated, they call it a talonavicular dislocation.
That's
And
fancy.
oh yeah, I know the doctor nerded out medically on me. He's like, in 30 years, I've never seen that. That's so cool. He's like, I don't know how this is gonna work putting it back. I'm gonna sedate you. And then I came to, and he was standing there smiling, like, dude, that was so cool. That was so, so like, hey, it's good to be, like, hey, I'm glad my injury and my pain can bring you some comfort,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's pretty neat. Yeah. We're moving, right along here. Last week we got into women in construction week, or I think it's a week long thing, but it's more than that. It's like mental health month. It's all the time. Women in construction week, it's all the time. So, we're moving right along here. We had Steph the Smudger last week, and here, this week, Hunter. What's up?
Not much, just hanging out. Glad that it's finally the weekend,
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be on shift right now. I work for 21 days at a time or so, and then I fly home for a week. Or this time off, I think was supposed to be 12. But hey, you know what? I'll take 6 weeks over 12 days. Let's do it.
Yeah. I've been on 40 hours for a while, and I'm not complaining, especially with how cold it's been and everything. I'm not like dying to be out there working like 70 hours in the freezing cold. So, but I have some shutdowns coming up in a couple months, and I'm also like taking some time off coming up in March. So I'm really excited for that. Just to like do stuff around my house, but still.
Hell yeah. Where are you from? You're out east somewhere, aren't you?
I'm in Michigan, yeah.
Michigan.
So yeah.
I'm from Ontario originally. I'm just above you.
Yeah, we're like neighbors, kind
Yeah,
of.
we're neighbors. I'm from Toronto originally, just
Yeah.
outside of Toronto. And yeah, you guys, it's kind of cold out there. I'm in Alberta. I'm out west, right? I'm out way north,
Yeah.
way west and way north. And we're that minus 50, minus 40 shit. And out this way, you're on the Great Lakes. So, people don't understand that are from here, that have never been out that way. Minus 20 on the Great Lakes is like minus 40 with like super high winds.
Yeah.
Right? It is shit. The wind out on the Great Lakes is shit. Back home when I'd walk to school, minus 20, minus 25 would feel like hell. Right. And I could work all day long in minus 40 with no wind and be super comfortable. Right. So yeah.
I'm ready for spring. But we're getting there. We're like finally at the end of it, I think is why I'm just finally so sick of it. And we've like had teasers, like yesterday was like 50 and sunny. And so we're like getting there, but
Absolutely. Yeah, out here as well. Last week was minus 40 and today was plus 9. So it's and you're in Michigan, so you're dealing Fahrenheit. You dealing them freedom units. We're dealing in Celsius, right? So minus 40 and minus 40 Fahrenheit, minus 40 Celsius is the same. Yeah. They meet up and they're the same for a little bit, right? Ow, I just hit my ankle off this leg thing here, so that's cool. But yeah, no. Yeah, no, I think we're on our last little, winter's got its like last little bit of its claws into us here. Having said that, we're not even in March yet. That's tomorrow. And, there's probably a couple days left of winter, but like, she's she's pretty
Yeah.
cooked at this point. And I remember, being in Ontario, just above you there. Come mid March there, I'm in shorts and a t-shirt already. Like I remember playing ball hockey with friends, mid March back in the day, and yeah, like here, no, you guys don't get winter until sometimes December. Winter doesn't creep up, right? Where here it's like
Yeah,
October,
literally. All
yeah.
the men on site are already wearing t-shirts too, and I'm still like in my bibs every day, full coat, like the whole shebang.
Yeah, absolutely. So, some welding. How long you been welding for? Like, what do you? How's
So
that?
I'm a journeyman pipe fitter and a pipe welder. I actually only started welding 3 years ago, but I've been a pipe fitter now for 6 years. So I worked alongside welders and, as a fitter and a fire watch when needed when I was, going through my apprenticeship and learning. And I don't know, I saw the welders and I was like, that's really cool. I think that's what I want to do. And I ended up learning. I really enjoyed it. And, it's brought me a lot of opportunities and stuff with social media, I would say as well. Like, I've got to go down to Texas to Tulsa Welding School on a TV show and stuff.
That's
So,
badass.
yeah, it's been really awesome. A lot of opportunities I wouldn't have expected joining the trades, I guess.
Yeah. What would you do before you got into the trades?
A little bit of everything. I mean, I went to college for nursing and I ended up dropping out. I also went a little bit for like business and marketing, and I also studied a little bit of like graphic design, which it all ties into what I do now. I never thought it would, but before I was like, I quit my job delivering pizza to become a pipe fitter apprentice, but there was a point in time that I had 8 jobs in 1 year because if I don't believe in doing something if you don't like it. Like if it makes you miserable, I'm gonna quit that job. Like
You can
I'm
swear. Hey,
okay. Like I'm gonna quit
yeah.
that fucking job.
Yeah.
Literally, I do not believe in doing anything that makes you unhappy because life is short. Like we are all numbered on our days on this earth. So I got an apprenticeship and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But the first day I loved it. I was like, I like this and I've stuck with it. I've been with the same company. Like I finally have 3 weeks of paid vacation now. Like,
Fuck yeah.
yeah,
That's sick. Yo, I've been with the company I've been with for I spent 7 years on a vac truck in the oil and gas industry, and the vac truck, I've been in the oil patch for 13 altogether, and the vac truck 7. And I did it because we started having kids and whatnot, and it was hard, and I just wanted a steady job, because like you, if I didn't like something, I didn't stick with it. I don't want to be miserable, right?
yeah,
But, and the vac truck was on call 24/7, covered in all the chemicals the oil field has to offer. And, not a good place to be, right? But like I needed to be there. And, I started my content there, right? So, it helped me grow, right? And so I stuck with it. And, I didn't really realize how much it was stressing me out and making me hate a lot of things, until I got out of it. The last year or so, I really knew, okay, I need out of this. I need to figure it out. And in the summertime, I build roads for whatever. And I was getting ready to go back to the vac truck in September. And the boss I have now, I met him on TikTok. He's like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, just sitting here, wrapping this job up, getting ready to go back to the vac truck." And he's like, "Come work for me this winter." So I'm like, all right. So I asked him the details and whatnot. He gave me all the deets, the money and everything like that. And within an hour, I signed the offer sheet. And, like 2.5 weeks later, I was out on site. And, the bar wasn't set very high, but I do love it. I do love it a lot more. It's more my style, right? I have an actual schedule. Before 6-7 weeks at a time, I was gone. During the pandemic at the very beginning, it was 6 months. And, now 20 days, 21 days, and then I come home for 10, between 7 and 10 anyways. And they fly me in and out. And the typical thing is, you've got to wait your 3 to 6 months to get your benefits. But like I was like, man, I'm not going anywhere. And I have kids and shit like that. Here I had benefits for the last 7 years. My daughters, they're still kids. Shit happens. He's like, "Oh yeah, man." He's like, we'll kick your benefits in right away, right? So I was like, okay, fucking, that's kind of what I'm looking for. All right, sweet. So stuff like that, and yeah, I love it. And then
I'm
so,
very fortunate that I've never like had to like witness really anything. I will say my first year there was a dude that got like a very severe cut. And like he was literally off work for 9 months from it because he had cut into so many tendons like irreparably in his arm. It was bad. Like I've never seen someone almost pass out because they've lost so much blood, but I was like,
crazy.
yeah, you just never know, and you just have to be careful. Like, really, at the end of the day, you gotta look out for your coworkers and look out for yourself.
Hell yeah, definitely. That's wow, 9 months. That's wow. I from start to finish, from day one till I'm back at work. Oh, I don't know about back at work, but completely healed up is 3 months total.
It's not too
Uh,
bad.
no, so 6 weeks until I can put pressure on the foot again. So I'm walking, and then however long after that of physio, right? So how old are you, Hunter?
27.
27, still young. So you were like 24 when you started welding, and
Yeah, I was
nice.
20. I think I was 21 when I entered the trades, about to turn 22.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely feel a lot more mature than when I started. I will say, like, as a young woman starting out in the trades, it can be like really difficult to be taken seriously, especially like I always like to tell the story that I had never like ran any power tools. Like they had to teach me how to change a drill bit my first day, like everything. My mom would not like I made pallet art out of like old pallets. I would cut them apart and make signs and shit. My mom would make my stepdad cut them for me. Like she wouldn't let me use the power tools. She's dead now, but it's just like a whole it like she would shit her pants like literally like because it's just like I kind of did like a whole 180 with my life. Like nobody ever would have expected this for me. I never would have expected it for myself, but it kind of ends up being like what I feel like I was born to do in some ways, I guess.
Hell yeah.
Like
Oh, by the way, she's dead now.
she is, and that's part of I like that's also part of my story that I share because she drowned in the ocean and I was there for it. Like I also almost drowned. So it's like part of what got me to where I am. Like it's what made me realize life is short. Like I already had that kind of feeling like I'm not going to do anything I don't want to do, but it was like I need to figure it out. Like I need to, like it's me in this world. I'm taking care of myself,
Yeah.
like so yeah, it's like part of my story
Did you
basically.
see your mom drown?
Basically, I was like way deeper in the ocean than her, but like I knew I was struggling, so I started like going back to shore and I couldn't see her anywhere and my stepdad was like laying on shore acting like he was basically drowning at that point also. And then so I went back out cuz he's like I think she's over there and I like got to her and she was obviously not conscious, but I knew like there were like riptides and everything and I knew like even if I did get her, I have no like floaties or anything. I'm like, I'm gonna drown because I can barely stay above water myself right
Yeah.
now. So I went back to shore. That rescue ended up getting her. I guess rescue almost gave up though, because like that's how bad it like the riptides were and everything. And then she was pronounced dead at the beach and then they resuscitated her. But it was like 3 days in the hospital of her.
Oh, your mic cut out. Your mic cut out.
At what point?
There you go. 3 days in the hospital, I think I
Okay,
heard.
so she was in the hospital for 3 days, basically, like, just having seizures and
She was
brain
still
dead.
alive.
Huh?
She was still alive.
Yeah, okay, she had the only brain activity that she had was seizures, so that's, like, not a good
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah.
Also, I'm kinda like, "Fuck this hospital," because I'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
But she also, I guess, had taken in, like, so much sand and everything, like, into her gut, like, they basically had to do surgery, but with the like her condition and her like basically being brain dead, not being able to breathe on her own, they weren't able to do that. And so all my family flew down. I'm like the only child, so I was the one that like had to like make the decisions really, but they influenced me to basically pull the plug. Whether it was the right decision, I don't know. I can't dwell on that.
Oh, probably.
But
She'd probably tell you it was,
what
right?
I will say is my stepdad, they so what like when you take on a lot of salt water, you get really dehydrated. So they're like, we're gonna pump you full of fluids. And it was a teaching hospital in Florida. We were on spring break. Basically, we went to the same beach, like this little retirement town every
Yeah.
year, basically. But they just kept pumping him so full of fluids that like when I went and visited him in the hospital, he's literally just like swollen up, and they ended up like flying him to the like emergency room in Michigan to like get him back
Shit.
right. So I always like kind of wonder, but I'm like, I can't dwell on it. Like everything happens for a reason, and I truly believe it was like part of my journey to get me where I am now, like as crazy as it sounds.
Hell yeah. Is he still alive? You talk to him?
He's still alive. I talked to him a little bit, but I think that his trauma is a lot worse than mine because he was like right there with my mom when it happened. So
Yeah.
like I also look just like my mom. I think that I remind him like a lot of her. Like, we still like see each other like here and there, but
Yeah.
that shit like it's so traumatizing and it's hard for you to process. It's hard for me to process. I still like work on processing it, but I think that especially for older men, they do not like get the help that they need to process those things,
Yep.
unfortunately.
Yep.
And that's kind of like a big thing. Also, I'm huge on mental health, and me and a lot of the girls on my podcast have stressed it. Like, therapy is okay. It's okay to get help, like in construction. In America, at least, construction workers are like the most likely to commit suicide after like our veterans and stuff. So
Yep.
yeah, so I like really push that. Like, I don't like, I don't, I'm not trying to say like, oh, like be a pussy or whatever, but like, it's not, you're not being a pussy. Like, if you reach out and get help, like it, just
Yep.
because we're in the trades and we're tough, like we still go through shit. Like,
You
yeah.
know, the manliest thing you can do is ask for help, right? Because, that takes balls, right?
Yeah.
So, like, the manliest thing you can do is ask for help when you need it, right? And, like, this year, I've discovered that, I've got some mental health shit going on it was passed down from my dad who was going through it, right? I've got
Yeah.
BPD, borderline personality disorder, and that is one of the most painful, I've come to learn, one of the most painful mental disorders you could have,
Yep.
and it stems from abandonment trauma in your childhood, right?
Mhm.
And it explains so much about me, and when I tell the story about my dad and the shit that I witnessed and got to be a part of and whatnot, it makes so much sense. I feel like I have a community, right? And
Yeah.
I feel understood. Yeah, and it's pretty wild. And then it also makes me feel bad for my dad, right? Because he's part of a generation that couldn't ask for help.
Mhm.
And
Exactly that.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's yeah, I also like I have to unpack all that with my therapist also because yeah, my whole family, it's like we don't have feelings, mental illness isn't real, like you're fine, just yeah. And I'm like, okay, so that's how I was raised, and I'm like learning that apparently that's not normal. So like trying to like break those generational curses and learn like healthy habits basically with my mental health and yeah.
Absolutely. So you were talking about your podcast, right? And it's called the 4%.
Yep, so I created that last fall. I'm working on season 2 right now. I'm working on like editing and dropping that, but life is so crazy and busy, and I also just bought a house. But so weekly when I am dropping episodes, I bring on a different tradeswoman and we basically just tell her story. And what I really like about it is you get the perspective from all kinds of different trades and all kinds of different aged women. Like I have women who are 17 years old, like dropped out of high school early. I have women that, just got out of not just got out of prison, but have been in prison. Like we all have crazy different stories, but we all like have made our way, and the community is just really great. It's super supportive. Like I love my tradeswoman community.
Hell yeah. Why'd you call it the 4%?
Because so at least in America, 4% of workers in trades are women, like in basically all construction trades essentially, which I'm like interested to see it change because it has gone up, and I see it like I have a lot of influencer female friends that encourage women to join trades, and I've had a lot of women that message me and say, hey, I joined a trade. So I think with like the internet and people, young women seeing like this is something I could actually do. It's possible. It's not just men. There are women out there. I think that it's gonna grow a lot in the next 10 years, dare I say, especially with I don't know what it's like up north for you guys, but like our workforce is men over 50 pretty much. Like
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There is a lot of that. And, anyone under is really, you're hard pressed to find they actually want to work, right? So,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And like, I'm getting there, we're a couple years away from 40 here, So like I was raised a little different. My dad was my dad brought me to work with him. He owned his own construction company, and my dad brought me to work with him when I was 11, and he forced it into me, right? He pounded the shit out of it into me, like, hey, I'm taking you to work, and I'm going to teach you the value of the dollar and what it takes to earn it, and give you something to be proud of at the end of a workday, right? And so he took me there, and I started making my own money. I think for the first couple of years, he paid me $50 a day, but at 11, 12 years old, $50 a day is a lot,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
absolutely.
I only worked on weekends and holidays and during the summer, right? So what do you got going on there? What are you puffing on there?
Nicotine.
Okay, nicotine. What's the flavor? Is it flavored?
Frozen cherry apple.
Frozen cherry apple. Nice. I
Yeah.
don't vape. My wife takes a little bit of I don't know. She just kind of once in a while. I just got my very first, and this was like last week when I was laid up on the couch after it first happened. I just got a high CBD, little bit of THC vape, right? And like I discovered,
That's this
I don't know if
one.
I'm doing it right. I don't know if I'm doing it right, right? So you hold it in for a minute and then blow out. I don't know. It just it felt weird. I tried to like suck it back, and I got a weird taste in my throat. And then we tried a joint a couple weeks back. Never tried joints before. I tried a joint. The taste of burning paper is disgusting.
Is marijuana legal there?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's legal here too. Yeah, I ate like a edible. What time is it?
Did you say
Like
it's illegal there?
no, it's legal.
Yeah, it's legal. Yeah, yeah, it's legal.
Yeah, I can like go to the store and even how well, I guess I can talk about this because literally the test I take for work is a 9 panel. Like I pop for weed and they're like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like as long
Here,
where they're like, as long as you're not on like crack or heroin and don't smoke at work. And I'm like, fair enough. Like
fair enough. I
they're
mean,
like, we don't care what you do on the weekend. I don't drink either. So
if you test positive for weed, they usually do like a mouth swab, right? So it's like, hey,
no, like it's changed in Michigan because they know like people smoke and it stays
yeah,
in your system.
yeah,
So it's a urine test literally like you would do like on most jobs. I work at government jobs and stuff. But yeah, but I don't smoke at work. I'm smart about it. And I
yeah,
don't honestly though, like in my opinion, like if I smoke the night before, it's not gonna affect me the next day. But if I was to drink the night before, I'm gonna be hungover the next day. Like I'm not gonna feel good. So me
yeah,
personally, alcohol doesn't agree with me. So
yeah,
and
yeah.
also for my PTSD and everything, I was at one time like given a medical card for it because yeah.
Hell yeah. So you were saying you're getting ready for season two?
Yeah, been recording episodes, but I just need to like get on editing them, which really they don't take that much editing. But
How many episodes do you have per season? Like, how many did you have in the first season?
I did 13 for the first season.
Okay, okay. So, are you gonna continue with that 13 per season then, or?
I think so because I release episodes weekly, so that ends up being like almost 3 months, I guess, of episodes. So I like the way that works out, but we'll just see. It also depends on how busy I am. A major thing with season 1 was the holidays had come up and everyone was just so busy, like understandably,
Yeah.
especially those that travel for work, they're taking time off, they're finally going to see their families. Like it just ended up working out better that way basically, but I need to get on it. Like people were literally I was going through my YouTube today and they're like, "I miss these. Like when are you going to make more videos?" And there's 4 that are like ready to be dropped, but I just need to edit. So
I'm gonna
maybe
listen.
this weekend.
I'm gonna listen. I got this will be episode 114, and it's just one straight shot. I don't do the season thing. I release an episode every Tuesday, so we're two and a bit years into her now, right? And not missing a Tuesday. And it's been at times it's been hectic. At times it's been like shit. Like right now, usually I try to stay 4 to 5 weeks ahead, right? And just right now yours is going out on Tuesday, right? Like with how the work was going and then the accident and whatnot. And I'm in the next few days here, I'm gonna record a few more. So I'm gonna be, I'll get back to being like, a couple weeks ahead. But also, if I go too far ahead, the shit becomes irrelevant what we're talking about, right? So
Yeah.
try to balance that. So
Yeah.
talking about Christmas and we're fucking by the time the episode drops, it's Valentine's Day or something, It's
I
like
know my first episode, it's the blonde welder. I'm pretty sure you've had her on
yeah,
here, but she was my first episode of my first season too. So she's gonna be the first episode of season 2 as well.
hell yeah.
But we were like talking about how TikTok was gonna get banned in the States, and now like it's fully been saved, and I'm like I'm still gonna drop it, but it's just funny because I've just been so lazy on editing because I've had so much other crap going on. But
Yep.
yeah,
Shout out to the blonde welder. She's been on mine twice now. And
she is awesome.
she is. She is she's pretty amazing, she is one badass. I don't know. Do I say chick? I don't know. She's one badass chick, Fuck
Yeah,
yeah. She's
yeah,
she's so cool. And
yeah,
the first time I had her on, it might have been her first ever podcast that she was on. And she didn't do too bad. It was not bad at all. She was a little quiet at first. There was a little fish tank going on in the back. You hear the bubbles, right? Or whatever it was, but or a water machine or something. The second episode, man, she was off to the races, right? And shout out to her. So
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. What's I don't know, what's the biggest guest you've had on, the biggest woman in construction?
Probably Miss Welds. She I've also but I met her personally. We were on a welding TV show together, so I think but also up there is Abigail Redmond is her name. Daddy's Money is her handle, but she's super funny. She's a John Deere mechanic and
Daddy's Money. I gotta check her out. That sounds
she's
badass.
funny. Yeah. I think those are some of the bigger creators though. I've really tried to branch out and make it so it's not just influencers though. Like I
Yeah.
have some people who don't even like really have platforms because I want it to be super inclusive. That's kind of like what I want my whole brand to be about is being inclusive for women, obviously, because I feel like sometimes it can be hard to find a safe space. Like, I'm in a lot of women in construction groups on Facebook and stuff, and they just end up like letting men in and trolls in, and it just some of the women end up not being supportive, and I just not that I, not that I'm a control freak, but I wanted to create like a just a supportive space where it's like we all have different opinions, like we all have different experiences, but we
Yeah.
can find common ground and like still be friends, basically.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah, I haven't, for the most part, it's been people that are, have a platform, but there's been some people that don't, like Leanna, right? She's amazing. She did the whole, like, she was a high angle rescue girl, and like she also breathed fire and shit like that, and she has like no followers. She's like, hey, can I come on? She came to me. She's like, hey, I don't have a platform or anything, but I have to have something to contribute to your podcast. Fuck yeah, let's go. Like, why not? Like that's badass. I love that. I love when people come to me and be like, hey, you know what? I don't think I have anything to contribute, but it's something I want to try. And it's like, well, let's go. I'm in.
Yeah.
And I'm always down. There's a guy that I work with. His name's Leon, and you know, this is what I love about blue collar. Everybody's got a story.
Mhm.
Everybody's got a story. You're not just a welder. You're not just a framer. You're not just this, right? This guy's a vac truck driver, right? And he's Aboriginal and whatnot, but like you look at him, you pass him in the hallway in camp or out on the street or something like that. You just think like, oh, this is another vac hauler, whatever, right? The guy's an actor, right? He does that. He does the vac truck thing to have a job when he's not acting, right? And he's like, well, have you seen the last of the Mohicans? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I was in that. He's like, Outlander. I fucking love Outlander. He's like, I was in that show, and he's like, this show and that one, and there's one coming up here soon that I'm in, and I think that's so cool. Like I would never have known that had I not stopped, taking a minute to get to know him, other than be like, hey man, you're a back hauler. Like what's up, right? And then you sit there, and I do that with a lot of people since I started the podcast, right? And I've kind of always been that way, but more so since I started the podcast. I want to dive deeper into just who you are. I want to know who you are, right?
Yeah.
And I did that one time at a strip club to a stripper, and I podcasted the shit out of her, right? And she's sitting there, boobies in my face, and she's just like talking to me, and I'm like, so why stripping? Like, what brought you here? How come? Like, what did you do before this? And she started telling me her whole life story and whatnot, and then you could tell like, oh, this guy's not gonna spend money on me. Well, I gotta go. Like,
Oh my god.
yeah,
Yeah, it's the people you meet in blue collar are crazy. Like, I have one coworker and he was a Syrian refugee, and his story is crazy, just like telling me about, they built houses in Syria and they have to basically be like bomb proof. But then I also have a coworker who's from Wales and he's retired now, but it was basically like the same deal. Like he only welded like because he needed something to do basically and a little bit of income. But now he's like traveling and he's YouTubing, and when I first met him, he's like, "Yeah, look me up. Like here's me bounty hunting. Like there's videos of him like bounty hunting on the internet." And I'm like, what the hell? And like people from Wales are so nice. They're like known as the nicest people in the world. So he's so kind.
even
But
nicer than Canadians.
apparently, literally, they're supposed to be like the nicest people ever from
No,
Wales, I guess.
jeez. Now I guess we're gonna have to have a nice off with a guy from Wales.
I don't know because I think that America and Canada, like at least Trudeau and Trump have beef right now.
Yeah, Trudeau and Trump do, but like, honestly, the rest of Canada has beef with Trudeau, so fuck that guy. The tariff thing that Trump's putting on Canada, it wouldn't hurt that much if we didn't have 9 years of economic stalemate with Trudeau, right? Like Trudeau, all the shit that's about to hit us, the whole Trump tariff thing is just an after effect, right?
Yeah.
9 years of dead economic activity, you know what I mean? And like just stupid choices made by our government. Is like, what, like it has nothing to do. We shouldn't even care about this tariff. But like
Yeah.
9 years of Trudeau is just fucked us, right? So like yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah. I don't really I know like America is so torn on it right now, and my belief on it all, I really don't like to get too mouthy on it. So all I'm gonna say is I think the people in power really like us to all be divided, and that if
100%.
everyone was united, the world would be a fucking insane place.
Oh, absolutely, it
But
would be.
it's all about money, so it never will be.
That's right. They all, you see all these stop racism campaigns, stuff like that. The powers that be don't want you to stop racism. The powers that be want racism and hate
Right.
and shit like that.
Yeah.
Because as soon as we don't see color, as soon as we can all come together and agree on almost everything, we don't have to agree on everything, but as soon as we can, get along under the banner of uniting, the government's fucked.
Yeah.
The government's so fucked, and that's every government everywhere. Like
Yeah.
it's not just a liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat thing, right? It's left wing, right wing, or two wings of the same bird, right? So like they just want you to believe that you stand for something, right? And
Mhm.
they don't stand for jack shit.
Yep.
Yeah, except for line in their pockets, and that's whatever. It is what it is. You
It's
know.
crazy. It sometimes I wish I was just like naive to
Oh,
it all. And I tried to be. But yeah, it's just not possible.
absolutely. So there's another aspect to you too that like is pretty cool. Um, you, the whole, and I've had Emma Stone. I don't know if you know who Emma Stone is. She's a oil field medic here in Canada. She is an accountant, right?
Oh
As
yeah.
what a college sells as accountants. You're also an accountant. You're an OF model, right? And
Yeah, I have a spicy link
spicy
basically.
links. Yeah, yeah. So how'd you get into that?
Well, I basically like had Instagram and everything, and men sexualized the shit out of me anyways.
Yeah,
And Miss Welds put it a really great way because she's a super beautiful woman. She's married. She doesn't post like her body really at all. And men still sexualize her. And she came on my podcast and I really liked what she said because she said, it is not anything you do. Like these men were going to sexualize you no matter what. And that was honestly like why I started it because I had a following and I knew a lot of women that made a lot of money on there. And I was like, you know what? I have the following. My family's already disappointed in me. Like, what at this point? And I don't regret it. Like, I've bought, my first house on my own, and in America, I don't know the statistic for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's under 20% of homeowners are single women. And
yeah,
so that's an achievement in its own. So I don't like regret it. I do make real that's a stigma is like people are like you didn't make enough money welding. So no, if you had the opportunity to double your income, you would do it too. Like if you were able like and so that's kind of the stigma. Like I make great money welding. I make over 100K a year like at my job. I'm happy at my job. My people at my job follow me on social media. Like it's not like I hide who I am, like, but I don't do that shit at work. I keep it very
yeah.
separate from, you know, but yeah, I don't regret it. I've been able to buy a house, so
Hey, you know what? A lot of people don't like, or people tend to attack what they don't understand, right?
yeah,
And that's the thing
definitely.
with like it's Emma said to me on that podcast, this was episode 6 now. I believe it was 6, 5 or 6. So it was like 2 years ago. She said, "You know what? Like one thing I want to point out is that consent is sexy and I get to determine who I work with and what I show. I don't have to show anything, really." Right? And she was trapped in a house with her ex-husband. She couldn't move because life's too expensive. So she was living in the basement. How did she get out? She started an OF, a spicy account, and she got the hell out of there. She made enough money where she could get out of there and live comfortably.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
and
So,
that's also part of why I inspire women to join the trades because I've had women be like, I want to leave my abusive husband, but like I don't know like how to make any money. I'm like, join the trades. It might not be right away, but even and it's been 6 years now since I was a first year apprentice. I was making like 15 an hour, and back then that was pretty decent money. I mean, I had to have roommates and stuff, but still, like, you can quickly
let's go.
earn raises and everything in the trades. So,
Go show mommy. Yeah, my daughter's showing me a Pokemon card she got in a Happy Meal here.
Oh man.
She's 4. She'll be 5 in like a week. Week and
Aw.
a bit, just a week and a bit. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, she likes to come in here sometimes when I'm on the podcast. I'm doing it at home anyways.
Course.
I usually do it. I'm on the road a lot, so I usually do it wherever I can, whether I'm up north in the bush or in a hotel somewhere and camp. When I'm home, I do it wherever I can. And hey, I'm trying to record one with them now. One at some point, and I've been planning on it for a few months. Maybe this is the time. 6 weeks at home,
Yeah,
time to record with my kids. Make one with them. So.
there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's pretty badass. Is this where you do your podcast, like with the fern in the background?
Yeah, normally in my frame though, you can see all my dead things.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you taxidermy that?
No, I do have something that I taxidermied, but I won't show it because it's really scary.
Please tell me it's your mom.
No, it's a bunny.
So
It was okay, and then my dog got a hold of it like right
Oh, yeah.
after.
All right, yeah. So I'm trying to get I want to look for a taxidermist to have on my podcast at some point. I want to get into the topic of taxidermying humans.
Someone told me that they were gonna do that to me one time.
Fuck, you should get it. You should let them do it. Like,
It would
I
be an
might be inhumane.
honor. It would be
What?
an honor.
See, you really did become a lampshade, right? Like it's crazy.
Oh my god, yeah, I love Ed Gein. He really is. He would have been great to have on the podcast.
Shit. Okay? Hey, so do you know what viscosity is?
No.
So it's it's a fluid's resistance to flow, right? It's a solid's resistance to flow. So like on the drilling rigs, they pump mud down hole and they got to try to if it's too thick, they need to like make it less thick, and if it's not thick enough, they need to make it more thick, right? Viscosity, they gotta do that. Where I'm going with that is the podcast is sponsored by the Mudman, and the Mudman deals in the thickness of your load. Hey, you know what I'm saying? OF over here.
Say that slower. Can you say that slower?
The Mudman deals in the thickness of your load.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it there. That's right. And yeah, sometimes it's not thick enough, and sometimes it's too thick. When I'm not thick enough, I gotta go and eat more peanuts or something. And I don't know if that actually does anything, but like whatever. More watermelon or what's that fucking fruit? I don't know. Pineapple.
If you're allergic to peanuts, it does something.
No, damn, going into anaphylactic shock. Now's the time. Get on, right? Like, shit. See, I can't afford a pump. I'm just gonna, be allergic to peanuts.
And I heard EpiPens are like expensive too.
Hey, maybe I don't know what they're like in Canada. I don't know if the government covers them down here or up here.
Y'all probably get free ones.
Listen, it's not free. My neighbor still got to pay for that shit, right? Like, that's the thing about universal health care is it's not free, right? We're taxed to death up here. I think we're paying close to 50% or so tax, and it's not all it's cracked out to be. I can tell you that much. You get what you pay for, right?
Yeah. I pay for my health insurance every week, but I still have to pay it every time I go to the doctor.
So like what have you had to pay for when you go to the doctor? What do you got to pay for? Like what? Like
I don't even know.
Most expensive medical bill.
Thousands of. One time I got stitches because I cut myself at work, and I didn't want to have to take a drug test because, like we were talking earlier, I knew I would get popped for weed, and I wasn't sure, like at the time, if they'd be mad or not. So I just like ate the cost, and it was like $1,600.
For how many stitches?
It was like 3 in my thumb, literally, like across my knuckles.
So you paid like 4. You paid for the initial visit. You paid for 3 stitches and probably any medication you needed.
I didn't get any medication. They numbed me when they gave me the stitches.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I broke my ankle and dislocated thing, I can tell you one thing: fentanyl is a hell of a drug.
That's what they gave my foreman's mom. Just had ankle surgery, and she got fentanyl too. And she's like, "I'm not taking that. People die from that." And he's like, "Mom, it's fine."
Yeah, no, the ambulance driver, I said the same thing. He's like, "Can I give you fentanyl?" I'm like, "Am I gonna die from this? You gonna OD me?" And he's like, "No, man. Like, yeah, it's like 30 milligrams, and it's like not that much, right?"
This
Like,
is this is
yeah,
doctor controlled fentanyl. It's
yeah,
fine.
yeah. And they wanted to cut my coveralls off me, right? They're starting to take this. I'm like, no, 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 stop, stop. I'm like, no matter how much this hurts, you're pulling that over the leg because that's my coveralls with my name on them, right? And I've told this story last week and I've talked about it a couple of times, but like it was the most blue collar exit you've ever seen from a hospital, right? So like they pulled it over the leg and so I was leaving the hospital, and I couldn't get the pants back over the splint. So I put the coveralls back on, put my rubber boot back on, and then I got out of there, right? And it was like, man, I wish someone had taken a picture or had someone had seen it and mentioned it, or I wish I wasn't the only one who had seen it. I mean, my safety guy had seen it, so like he knows. But yeah,
I'm pretty sure I have a picture, but when I had to get the stitches,
yeah.
oh, I'm doing a thumbs up. That's cute.
Oh no.
When I had to get the stitches, I used to wear a ring to work every day, like a big, it's called Black Hills Gold jewelry. And it is like, it's sentimental to me because my grandma's from out west and that's like where it comes from. And basically, it's like really sharp pointed, leafy gold jewelry, like huge, chunky ring. And it was on the thumb that I cut, and I had to take it off what before they would do stitches. Well, and they're like, we have to cut it off. I'm like, you're not cutting it off. And they're like, well, then you have to take it off. And I had to pull it over. Mind you, my like tendon is out. I had to pull it over my thumb and stuff. They were like, you're a tough girl. And I was fine until they said that to me. And then I started crying because they called me a tough girl. I'm like, don't do that. Don't.
Oh, that's great. That's pretty funny, actually. Oh man. Like, you know what? Like, no one talks about this either. Like, you haven't had an injury where you've had to take any time off work, right?
No. No. I did get burned pretty bad, but I worked through it
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, you're a welder, and well, getting burnt is like part of the trade, right? So,
Yeah.
I I've made a couple videos the last few days on TikTok about being off and whatnot, and just I had one where I went out and bought a pair of binoculars, and it's like, you know what, like I finally get to be that nosy neighbor, right? And it's like, I'll be a peeping tom. I'll watch your whole family eat dinner, right? And then like I had another one there, but a couple people have commented on it, be like, hey man, like I just had 10 months off work, or I just had this much time off work, and it sucks and whatnot. Not a lot of people talk about this. Has opened up a new side of social media for me, right? And I told my boss this. I'm like, I know you don't want me talking about it too much, but like I'm on blue collar social media, and that's a part of our thing, right? You want me to like talk about the trades and blue collar and how awesome it is. Well, like I've opened up a new side here where like, this is another side to it where, you were talking mental health, guys got to be off for a few months, right? You're just taking away their identity for a couple months and, and healing up and the pain and, how boring it is. Right. And, I gotta tap into that. Right. I gotta, I'm here, right? This is what I'm doing, right? I can't make those videos on site, so I gotta be here.
Yeah.
And he's like, absolutely, I understand that. They want me to lay low about it for a little bit, though. They're like, hey man, just let the panic and like the frustration of it settle down a little bit, and then But he's like, there's a lot of eyes on you. You got like 200 and some odd thousand followers across the internet. Let it die down for a little bit. And I'm like, all right, fair enough. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, he's like, having said
Understandable.
that, we can't really tell you what you can and cannot say on your private socials. So, and I'm like, no, but like I can respect you, right? Like you're my
Yeah.
employer. I can respect. So yeah, it's tough.
I bet.
Yeah. Oh, hey, you know what? It's gotta be tough for my wife. She's been giving me piggyback rides to go to the bathroom and giving me, sponge baths and stuff like that. I tried to have a shower the other day. I wrapped a garbage bag around it, tied it up, instantly got it soaked. the garbage bag did nothing. So that didn't work. So yeah, I'm annoying the fuck out of her. We're only 1 week in out of 6, so
Quality time with the wife
quality
and
time. Here we
family.
go, right? Oh shit, no, that's good. Um, as a woman in the trades, like, and with your platform now, like, what what's the kind of message you're trying to get out there? Like, what do you want to tell people, like other women who, younger coming up, older, trying to get into it?
I just want to tell women that they can be in the trades and they do not have to fit into a box to be in the trades. They can still be who they are. And that's what actually, like, it's really made my day. Like, I've had a couple young women like come on my podcast and like tell me, like, you've inspired me and made me realize, like, I can look how I want, like, I can be who I am and work in the trades, and we don't have to fit in a box where like we're stereotyped a certain way. Basically, like, you can be girly still, you can have your nails done, you can like pink, you can not like pink, you can have a full body tattoo sleeve. Like, it doesn't matter, there will be a place for you in the trades.
Speaking of nails, do you know who Mud Sloot is? Like, Nicolette?
Yeah, yeah,
She lives not far from me. Like, she lives probably 10, 15 minutes from me.
that's
I've had her on
awesome.
my podcast, and she's got the nails, right? And we talked about that when she was on my podcast. It was uh, you know, how she takes criticism or heat for the nails, right? Or wanting to put makeup on or whatever. And it's like, what, like me, like as a guy, I show up to work one day in jeans, right? And a nicer shirt. It might get dirty, but we spend so much time on the road working and being away and not being able to, like, look good, feel good, right? You come to work in jeans one day, you put them on just to feel human, right? Just
Hmm.
to feel something other than like a robot, right?
Yeah.
And that's pretty huge. Same with you, like nails, makeup. Sometimes you just gotta feel like yourself,
Yep.
or get lost.
if you're If you're having more women, you should look into having Morgan Bosch on.
I had
She's a
Morgan on my
great.
podcast.
Have you? Okay. You guys
Yeah,
have the
Morgan
same
lives
accent.
Morgan lives 15 minutes from me.
Yeah, okay. You
Yeah.
guys have the same accent. I've had her on my podcast too. I love her. She does a lot of really great stuff for women in the trades as
She
well.
sure does. She has that whole Edmonton meetup for the trades in the town that we live in,
Yeah.
and yeah, she only lives 15 minutes from me. She's been on. She hasn't been on since she started the women blue collar meetup thing. We're waiting for her to get off night shift, actually, and when she's off night shift here in a couple days, she's coming back on. So
Nice. She's been on the news and everything. I'm so proud of her. She's
yeah,
killing it.
Morgan's amazing, crane operator, good shit. I don't know if you know her boss and her and someone else, I think, run that some crane op site or page. So yeah, yeah, she's good. Where can people find you if they don't know where to find you already? And where can we find your podcast?
I'm on all social media at Some Welding Girl, and my podcast is on Instagram, TikTok for the social media pages, and then we are on YouTube and Spotify. Women in Trades, the 4%.
Yeah, oh, I love that. Are you on Apple? You're not on Apple?
No, not yet. I don't. I'm an Apple hater, but I know that there's
Gotta get it
people
out.
that aren't. So, like,
Gotta
I'm a
get it out there.
Spotify user personally, but I should look into it. It's a little bit more difficult to get on Apple, isn't it?
No, mine's on Apple. All you got to do is have like a cover page, and I don't know. I have an Apple account already, so I don't know. I just know, like, you want to be everywhere that people can find podcasts, right? It
Yeah.
expands your so get this. So Apple accounts for like 80% of my listener base, and or
Are you
80% of
serious?
my downloads. Yeah, and 7% come from Spotify. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
maybe I'll have to look into Apple.
Oh, you definitely got to get on Apple, right? Because what's if you don't have an Android, or if you're not on Spotify, where's the next place you're going to be? You're going to be on an iPhone or on Apple, right? So it's definitely you're leaving listens and downloads on the table for sure by not being there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
a Apple, like, I have a MacBook and 3 iPhones, but I just use Spotify. But
yeah.
yeah, I'll have to look into it for sure.
Geez, 3 iPhones? Like, all at the same time?
Yeah,
What are you, a drug
literally.
dealer? What's going on here?
Because of all the content I create, I just fill up phones so
Yes.
fast.
Yes. So, like, before I got this phone and before, like, I had, like, 60 megabytes or 60 gigabytes of space or some shit like that on my phone. As I was creating videos, I had to delete, like, 10 things,
I buy
right?
the 264 gig
That's
phones
what
and
this
fill
is
them
now.
up,
Yeah.
literally.
Wow, look at you go. Like, that's badass. No, that's wow. Good for you. Good for you. It's huge.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep you too much longer there. I know it's getting late your time, but hey, it's the weekend, right?
Yeah, thank fucking God.
Thank God. Yeah, I know, and you get to spend some much needed time with the pups and whatnot.
Yes, some quality time with my dogs.
Absolutely. I don't want to keep you too much longer there. I like to wrap the podcast up by asking just one last question, and it's Mount Rushmore has 4 of the most influential people on it, and if you could have your own Mount Rushmore with 4 people that you look up to, inspire to be, or that inspire you, who would they be and why?
That's really tough. Okay. Um, I guess I would put this is so difficult. I would put Jen Phillips because I
Shout out
don't
to
know.
Jen.
Have you seen her work?
I have.
She deserves with the way that she sculpts, she just deserves to be up there.
Yeah.
So she's like
Yeah.
one of my blue collar Mount Rushmores. I would also put Jim Morrison from The Doors there
From the
because
Doors. Oh yeah.
he has great hair and I would just love to see that. This is really like the most difficult question I've ever been asked in my life. Okay, the last two. We'll put Liv Taylor Dodge up there
Oh, I'm
because
trying to
she's
get
a
her on the
badass.
podcast. I can't get. I'm trying
I
so.
want her to.
I'm trying so hard. She follows me on
She follows
on
me on
Insta.
Instagram and
Yeah.
TikTok. I haven't
Yeah.
asked her. I feel like I should, but I know she's a busy girl. I just
Yeah.
know it.
She's swamped. I'm trying. I've reached out to her a couple of times. I message her almost every day on Instagram. I sent her some emails. I'm trying. I'm trying everywhere she is. That's where I want to be. I'm trying to get Liv so bad, so hard, but she's
I saw she
badass.
did one,
Yeah.
but
I think she did the
yeah.
Old Boy podcast.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
My last person would be Miss Welds. It's just gonna be 3 blue collar baddies and Jim Morrison.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. No, that's badass. No, I like that. A lot of people. I asked that question too. My boss asked me that question in orientation like fucking 8 years ago. He's like, you know what, man? He's like, everyone has one. Everyone has a Mount Rushmore, and it tells you exactly the kind of person they are, right? And so, like, when I was starting the podcast, I went like the first like few without having that question in there, and I'm like, you know what, like every podcast has segments to it. I've noticed, right? Mine's just shooting the shit, and which is good too. And I don't plan any episode. I don't plan on what we're going to talk about. We just jump in and we talk like meeting an old friend on the street. But I'm like, let's wrap it up with something good. So I'm like, fuck it. You know what? The Mount Rushmore question. And it stumps a lot of people. You spend the first like hour or so just shooting the shit and being random and joking around and not taking it seriously. And then I hit you with that, and you're like, what the fuck, right? Like,
Yeah.
it makes people think. A lot of people take, the way out of like, oh, I don't have people I look up to, right? It's like, well, come on. It could be real, not real. It could be dead, alive. Who cares? Like, fucking give me something.
Something. Come on.
Just give me something, right?
Even if you think it's stupid, just say it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, fuck. You could be like, you know what? The Queen of England,
Why
dead.
not? And the Pope.
The Pope. Shout out to the Pope. That
Shout out
guy's
to the Pope.
dying right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck
Yeah.
yeah. When can we expect season 2?
I'm planning on starting to edit it this weekend, so hopefully like one of these early weekends in March it will be ready to drop.
All right. And when you do drop it, what days do you drop and at what time?
I normally drop them on Sunday mornings at 7 a.m.
That's a good time, everyone's just getting up, having their Sunday morning shit, their coffee.
Yeah, if you're cleaning, that's what a lot of girlies are like. I get up in the morning and I clean on Sundays or I listen to it, or they wait until Monday and while they're at work. I hear a lot of the girls listen to it while they're at work. So
Absolutely. My days are it drops Tuesday nights at 5 p.m. And the reason behind that was in the oil field, Wednesdays are a big travel day, right? So you drop it, you can listen to it that night, or it drops, you download it. It's queued up and ready to go for travel, right? So a lot of
yeah.
people they travel hours, right? So the podcast sometimes goes for hours, sometimes 10 hours. Sometimes I had one that was almost 3, right? So it's like, or 2 that were almost 3. So like the most I've ever driven is like an 8-hour drive home, right? So like it's, and or if
Yeah.
you gotta catch a plane ride, boom, it's there. So that's it's interesting connecting with other podcasters to know like the reasons behind what they do, right? Because there's always a reason for everything that happens here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love connecting with other podcasters because you get to I'm gonna hopefully extend where people can find yours. You gotta get on Apple. You gotta get on Apple.
I'll look into it tonight.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
That will be my homework for the night.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Hunter, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And you know what? Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm not a female. I could put on a wig and come on yours.
If you look pretty in a wig, you can come on my podcast.
And I can identify. That's a thing now. I can identify.
No. Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna say what I want to say.
Say it. Say it.
No, I'll end up so canceled.
So okay. Yeah. I think I know where you're going. Well, thanks for coming on, Hunter. And hey, you stay frosty.
Thanks for having me.